All right, what's up, guys? For periods 1 and 2, sorry that me and Misty couldn't be there today. Period 3, sorry I couldn't be there today. We just have a training off campus, so we will be back soon. Everything is okay. You'll use this to assist you in getting through the first half of the day for 5 notes, and then we'll wrap it up tomorrow. So the first thing that periods 1 and 2 you guys will do is you're going to look through the vocabulary. So down here in day 4 specifically, and there's a lot. So there's different displays of data. You have the box plot or box and whisker plot, also known as the frequency distribution, the stem and leaf, the histogram, and then also the bar chart. There is a difference between the two. You can look it up. Then there's also what's called dispersion. So kind of how spread out. You can kind of see the word spread in there, right? Dispersed. Range, quartiles, interquartile range, how we determine outliers, and then there's central tendencies, mean, median, and mode. So there's a lot. Feel free to click on that visual vocab to kind of help you a little bit, but there's a lot there. Now, some of you maybe have heard of none of this, right? And you would just throw that somewhere in. I do not recognize this term. It's new to me. Some of you may be looking at mean and median, but you can't quite remember the difference, right? Throw that in the middle. Very confident with the term. You're able to identify, say, the median as well. If it's listed from least to greatest, it's the middle value, right? So just real quick with yourself, just go through each of those vocabulary terms and place them as needed, okay? Now, once you've done that, for example 1, there's nothing really to do here other than looking at the frequency distribution table and the stem and leaf plot, and the box and whisker, and then a bar versus histogram. Okay, so just kind of what you notice, all right? What we're asking you to do is come up with 3 observations or questions that you have about these things. It's just to get you to start thinking, okay? And know we asked you to come up with at least 3 of those things: observations, notes, questions, just based on these, okay? Let's take a couple minutes just observing. What do you notice? Okay, very, very simple, very simple. Now you'll come back and you'll try example 2 on your own after you give example 3 a try. So let's look at this. This is known as a stem and leaf. Okay. Now the whole point of stem and leaves and frequency distributions, like example 2, is to take a whole bunch of data, a whole big list of data, and condense it down into something that's more readable, or something that's more condensed. So we have this list, right? 41 to 95. Well, 41, 52, 57, etc. through 95. Now that list can be summarized using a stem and leaf. So if you notice here, 4, 1, basically the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, those are all in like the tens spots, okay? Now the numbers on the right side are like the leaves, okay? And those leaves are coming off of the tens place. So this 1 right here is representing 41. And then the 2, 7, and 8, that represents 52, 57, 58. The 5 and the 6, that represents 65 and 66. Now, again, this is just a way to summarize data into something that's more kind of compact, okay? Now, when you're determining mean, median, and mode, it may be easier to list them out from least to greatest, like we have here, from 41 to 95. Now, first off, mean, and this is probably reviewed for most of you, but the way you get the mean is you add all of them up. 41 plus 52 plus 57, all the way through 95. When you add all those up and you divide it by the total number of values, that being 14, you get 69.5. Now, if these were test scores, definitely not your guys' test scores. You perform way better than this. The average would be 69.5. Okay? Now, that is a measure of central tendency. The median, a little bit different. Median is like what's in the middle of the data set. Okay? So if you were to go through the data here and you were to determine what's in the middle, one method is to cross numbers off. So like cross off 95 and 41, cross off 80 and 52, cross off the other 80 and 57. And you'll notice that 70 and 75 are the 2 that are right in the middle. Well, when you have 2 in the middle, you add them together and you divide by 2. Sometimes there's just one number in the middle, and that's just directly your median. But when there's two numbers, add them, divide by 2. That gives you the median. Okay? Now the mode simply is just what shows up the most. 78 shows up 3 times. That makes 78 the mode. All right? Okay. Now that's central tendencies. Now when we're talking about dispersion, now we're talking about how spread out the data is. Okay, so from 95 to 41, 95, really high score, 41, pretty low. So the range of scores would be 95 minus 41 for a range of 54. Okay, so basically it's just the difference between the high and the low. Okay, now quartiles. You have to be able to identify your Q1, your Q2, and your Q3. Now you may have noticed that the Q2 is the median. Okay, the median is your Q2. It serves a dual purpose. Well, Q2 is the median. Now the way you get Q1 and Q3, let's come on back up here. So if we look at the lower half of the data, okay, that's 41 to 70. The number that's directly between 41 and 70 is 58. Okay, that becomes your Q1. Q1 is just like the middle number of the front half of the data. Now if we look at the upper half of the data, from 75 to 95, once again, you can cross off on either end until you get to the middle, but 78 is the middle of the upper half, so 78 becomes your Q3. Now if you want so that's your quartiles. Okay, Q1, Q2, Q3. If you want the IQR, the IQR is still a range, but it's the range from your Q3 to your Q1. So your IQR, your interquartiles, so it's like your interquartiles are your quartiles that are inside. That would be your Q3 and your Q1. And you're just simply going to go 78 minus 58. That gives you the IQR. Now the reason you want to do that is you need to determine if there are any outliers. Now we are going to call these our upper fence and our lower fence, okay? Now by definition, an outlier is just something that's so statistically different than the rest of the data, it just doesn't really fit with the rest, okay? So what you do to find the lower fence is you do Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Now 1.5 times 20 gives you 30, and 58 minus 30 gives you 28. So 28, this is your lower fence, okay? To find the high, you do Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. The IQR remains 20. So you're going to do, looks like there's a point missing there between the 1 and the 5 on the high. It's still 1.5. You do plus 1.5 times the IQR, being 20, and it becomes 78 plus 30. And that gives you your upper fence of 108. Now, if you go back and you look at the scores, were there any scores here between 41 and 95 that happened below 28 or above 108? No. That means there are no outliers. Okay? Now, a box and whisker plot is just a data representation to show the spread of the data. And it's pretty simple. It's kind of like a number line. Okay, so from 40 to 100, no need to go any further. Those scores all exist between 40 and 100. Now you're going to put a little mark here at the min. The min was, 41, right? 41 was the low score. And the max being, kind of approximated here, what was that? 95, okay? You can mark your Q1, your Q3, and your Q2, and you connect all of the marks, and you make a little box in the middle. Now what this is saying is that between our min and our Q1, 25% of our data falls in that range. Now between Q1 and Q2, that's another 25% of data. Between Q2 and Q3, another 25% of data. So you can look at this as like the box part of the box and whisker. The box shows you that 50% of the data occurs between our Q1 was 58, our Q3 was 78, between 58 and 78. So 50% of our data occurs between 58 and 78. It's a large chunk of the class right in that range there. Now the upper 25% of the class, they scored from 78 on to, 95, right? Yeah, 95. Okay, and that is how you create a box and whisker. Now, how you do the histograms and box plots, I'm going to attach a separate video so you can go and you can watch that video. It's only, I think, 3 minutes long or so. But watch that video to see how you can do a box and whisker and a histogram on Desmos. But I'll also show you in that video how to really quickly find the mean and the median just by inputting your data into a table, and it will automatically calculate all of those things for you instead of having to do it by hand like we did up here. Okay, I hope that helps. I hope you're working hard and being good. And Miss D and I, we will see you on Friday. See you guys.